right here. An explanation of my spirit box sessions. I'm going to try to attempt to explain it to y'all so that anybody just coming in cold could understand these sessions. So my name is Keela, and I am 58 years old, and I'm a recovering drug addict. I'm in recovery. I still take medical marijuana, but I live in a medical marijuana state and have a prescription, but I don't do any other drugs. I was a heroin addict. Well, actually, I was a narcotic addict and swore that I would never, ever, ever do heroin. But when you swear that, be prepared. Things happen in life that make you go there. So I'm not going to go through that whole story. I have not done anything except medical marijuana since September 23rd, 2020. And that's when I moved to Oklahoma. Alright, so I was given up for adoption at birth. The parents that adopted me were wonderful. They were a very prominent family. I found out at a very early age I was adopted. I didn't understand it. My cousin told me that my real mom threw me in the dumpster and that my adopted mom rescued me. So that's how I found out. So, you know, my trust issues and abandonment, rejection issues, all from the get-go. Well, that wasn't all. For years, this lady, I thought she lived in our house. I thought she was my aunt or my grandmother or somebody. Well, it turned out she wasn't. They said she wasn't real. Well, my grandmother, who was my adopted grandmother now, get this, my adopted grandmother, told me not to listen to them, that they just didn't believe that she was real and that she was a ghost. And that was one of her ancestors, and that, you know, she wasn't going to hurt me. So I could see and talk to things at a very young age. At a very, very young age, I started having nightmares and things coming after me. And my grandmother was smart enough to realize that I wasn't just dreaming. I was actually astrally projecting as a toddler. And, you know, couldn't control it. I'd go sleep and leave my body, but I was consciously aware of it. Well, all of my life, I seen and heard things, demons, angels, you know. I got saved at a very young age in a hellfire and brimstone church during a Revelations, like a revival type, week-long Revelations type thing. I made the statement way back then that if I got left here for the tribulation, that I'd go toe-to-toe with the devil and that I would kick his butt. Now, I was like 6, 7 years old, maybe 8 when I said that. My entire life has been spent living out that statement or the consequences of that statement. So when I tell people, don't talk smack about demons, don't just think that you're going to smack them down, smack them around. Without Jesus and his blood or God, you don't stand a chance as a human, you know. Celestial beings are not the same as humans. They don't have the feelings we have. And true evil is true evil. Now, I've been in the dark pretty much my whole 58 years. But I'm not evil. I can't even wrap my head around some of that evil. But anyway, long story short, all my life I thought I've seen, talked, communicated, hung around with, and lived with ghosts. And other beings. I knew there were other beings too that weren't actually ghosts, but I didn't pay them much attention. Now, all this was going on in my head, in my meditations, in my real life, in my reality. It was my truth. So I started having these nightmares and stuff coming after me. My grandmother told me not to be afraid, to turn around, turn into the biggest dragon that I could imagine, and blow fire on whatever it was after me, because nothing except for God could stand up to dragon fire. That it would take anything in the other worlds out. As long as I believed in God, Jesus, His blood, His power, His authority, His sword, His word, His name, and then turn into a dragon and everything else, burn it up. Now, at a real young age, she didn't explain to me that, when you burn a demon up, maybe not that particular demon, but they just go away for temporary. They come back, But I was young, so I went along with the program. She taught me all about herbs. She taught me how to, do spells, bindings. And I was told that the Bible said it's okay to bind, protect, and pray. Which everything else God considers witchcraft in a secular Bible. But that's a whole nother lesson. We're not even going to go. I'm not going to get sidetracked on rabbit trails today. So I went through my witchcraft phase. Casting, doing Ouija boards, ghost hunting, paranormalist, all that stuff. Done it for years. Then went through a stage where I didn't want this gift. So anyway, long story short, lots and lots of reasons. I've been doing drugs, narcotics since I was about 7 or 8 years old because I have a bone and disc disease. And way back then, the doctors would just write me like 1,000 Percodans at a time. And, they didn't know what they know now. Way back. Way, way back. I was a little kid getting all this medicine. Anyway, I always smoked pot. But then, I didn't branch out into harder drugs until after I was 50 years old. Because, I realized I was addicted to the narcotics. So I spent probably 52 out of 58 years trying to kill my gifts and not embrace them, because I was convinced that God would send me to hell for working witchcraft. Although I worked witchcraft, like I said, in my younger days. I was married for 23 years. Took me several years of hiding and fighting to get divorced. And when I did, I began a relationship with another female who sort of practiced craft. She practiced it, but she was in denial. Well, anyway, I got stronger and stronger and stronger. And one day I just had a thought at a ball field, and they shut down the whole ball field. I about killed a ball coach and all kind of stuff. So after that, I asked for forgiveness, renounced witchcraft, and never cast another spell. I do bind, protect, and pray, though. I've always read tarot cards, runes, pendulum readings, stuff like that. I've always been able to connect with the other side of the veil, deceased people, stuff like that. Sometimes I do readings, but mostly I try to deny it and just pretend like it wasn't happening. And I just dealt with all the horrifying side effects, all this stuff coming after me. Well, I never understood, and I always thought it's because I was on drugs, and thought that the drugs was causing a lot of it, One day I broke down, went and got some help, and they told me that not only was I a drug addict, but that, I had some mental health issues. They didn't come out and say schizophrenia, but they gave me a diagnosis of schizoaffective with bipolar disorder. I had prolonged post-traumatic stress disorder from being in the service, and I ended up with an agoraphobia diagnosis. Anyway, not doing drugs didn't help that any. The mental health drugs were worse than the street drugs that I was on. So I finally just said, well, yeah, I hear voices, and I know what's real and what's not, and I quit taking the medicine. Well, a couple years ago, after I moved out here back in 2020, I'd been watching YouTube for several years and following different, paranormal and some missing kids, stuff like that. And I kept saying I was going to start a channel. But I just kept putting it off, never doing it. Because I didn't know what kind of content I would put up there. So finally, I started a channel. And I got me a couple little free apps. Didn't really first. So I'm on disability, so I made a couple, you know, rant and rave at Candace and Dawn videos, and I decided that I was going to tell people about my powers, or my gifts, because a couple people had already found out, and I couldn't help it. A couple people's lives I went in was filled with, like, spirits and stuff, and they just all, like, bum rushed me when I walked in the door because they realized I could see them. So I said, well, you know, the gig's up. People know. Might as well do it. Let's do it right. So I wanted to create a place where, you know, we all could further our gifts or talk about them or whatever, where nobody was going to say we was fake or it wasn't true. Because the one thing I believe in is we got no right to judge nobody else. We cannot say what somebody's seen or experienced is not the truth because we weren't there. Especially when we see and experience things ourselves. So anyway, all these years, I've been, you know, dealing with these ghosts and trying to avoid them. Well, a couple people asked me to do readings, and could I use a spirit box to contact their loved one, their deceased loved one. Well, I could do that in my head. I didn't need a spirit box. I could just do a reading, you know. But my philosophy is I don't trust people. And I've been got before by charlatans. And I thought, well, I'm not going to just say, well, so-and-so said this in my head, and your grandmother said that, and this, and it's all coming out of my head, and I just expect you to believe me. You know, the hit and miss kind of thing. Even though on all my readings, I do them that way too. But I decided I was going to use a spirit box and try to locate their deceased loved ones so that they could hear it and I could hear it. It would be something tangible for us both to be able to hear and everything. And then people wouldn't just have to take my word for it. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to prove myself and not just ask people to trust me, because I don't just trust somebody because they ask me. That ain't happening. So I saved up my money for 2 months. I know this sounds crazy because it wasn't but $10. And got me a necrophonic app on my phone. At first, I wasn't getting anything. Then I started getting a couple voices. And they were like, go away. We don't want to talk. You know, they were just all grumpy. So I thought, well, you know, that's mean. Well, the next day, my vibration might be a little higher, you know. And I finally got a couple of them to talking to me. And I had several. And I had spirit guides the whole 50-something years I knew. They had names, and I was very close to a couple of them. Well, all of a sudden, they're on the necrophonic app. And a friend of mine said, I don't know about that one spirit guide, it just don't seem right. Well, all hell broke loose on the app. And they kept talking about eating and stuff like that. And saying they eat my cats and stuff. You know, trying to scare me. Well, I don't scare easy. So, you know, I kept asking questions. Well, if you're on the other side and you're dead, you don't have a body, right? You're just energy or your spirit body. Then how are you eating? Because I was always told by my grandmother and other people who helped me along the way to never, ever, ever eat or drink in a dream or in the realm, no matter who's giving it to you. Because, you know, demons can trick you. So they kept asking me to eat with them, and I'm like, no, y'all can come eat with me. You know, I invited them to my birthday, and I cooked out, and all kind of stuff. One day I took them fishing with me. We had a ball. We had a blast. But things were coming up, and all of a sudden, on my birthday in 2021, on my birthday, a friend of mine said, I want to buy you a better app. You know, that necrophonic, I want to get you a better, more clearer app. You know, help your channel out. So they bought me like a $20 app. Well, I went on there. It was great. You could hear them. Everything was good at first. But my spirit guide, some stuff happened with that. Anyway, it's a really long story. I had lost a husband who was an evil narcissist who said when he died, he was going to hell to take over Lucifer's throne, kick him out, and, take over hell, and that he would torture me even from the grave. Well, sure enough, he popped up on the spirit box on the new app and the old app. And so I'm like, is that you? And he was saying things that only he would say to me and stuff like that. So I was convinced it was him. But he kept lying to me, saying it wasn't. Well, then all of a sudden, when I questioned my spirit guide about something, all hell broke loose. Turns out, I'm not even sure if the spirit guide that was in my head for 56 years before I ever turned on a necrophonic or the Spiritus app. I know he was real and I know he was there, but it was like night and day with the one that was on the spirit box claiming to be him. Then somehow my husband was involved. Somebody was pretending to be my spirit guide. It just turned into a whole big mess. So I asked my spirit guide about it in my head and on the box. And on the box he said, "You cut me deeply. You really hurt me. I can't believe you asked me that." Well, things were a little strained, but not bad. And then all of a sudden, a couple spirits, we started hanging all the time. Because I don't really look for people's loved ones. I was asking questions like Steve Huff or Costas. I wanted to know about the afterlife and beyond the veil. And, they were talking about eating and doing this and that and another. So I was asking questions. How are you eating in a spiritual body with no body? And when you're just consciousness. And some spirits would ask for help and ask for light. And they'd ask me to help them cross over, which I don't believe that you can. Because wherever you get put, that's where God put you. And now I can't move you if God put you there. So anyway, this is all going on for like 6, 7, 8 months with the box. Everything's working out good. I'm doing sessions for clients and stuff, which I don't charge for anything. And so I kept asking these questions. I kept listening. I just would sit and listen to them. Well, I'm like, man, because I used to fly a helicopter, and I'm thinking, man, they sound like they fly in an airplane. Then I thought, what if it sounds like they on a spaceship? Well, one day during a session, apparently the spaceship tore up or crashed or something. They're trying to turn it over. I can hear the things on the flywheel spinning, because I was a mechanic. So I'm like, what happened, or whatever. And they're getting mad at me. And I'm just cutting up because, I'm saying, what happened? Did your spaceship tear up? But in the back of my mind, I'm not really believing that, I'm thinking it's either demons or, just spirits lying to me, because they do that. Anyway, I kept on and on and on asking questions. Every day I would turn that, or whenever I would go to do a spirit box, not every day, but just about every day, every other day. And I'd turn it on, and I'd ask all these questions, and they would say, "Go away. We don't like you. Go away. We're not going to answer you. God told us not to answer you. Go away, go away, go away, go away." And I'm like, the more they tell me to go away, the more I'm going to keep coming, because I'm thinking they're lower vibrational beings. I can just keep coming in there with love and light, and eventually they'll either accept me or they'll go away because my vibration's higher, right? So all this is going on with my spirit guide. And I got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. So I was having a really bad week. I'd been crying for a couple days. Some major, major things happened. My best friend died. Just all kinds of stuff. Well, I'm transcribing a spirit box one day. And I hear the spirit guide on there that I, had questioned. I hear some other spirits say his name and my name that I don't even use online or anything, that nobody knew, my married name. And they say Seth Sudreth. And I'm like, what? So I go back and I'm like, I need to ask y'all about these names. So I asked them about them, which were all like fantasy names in people's, in comic books or people's books or something, you know. And I'm like, oh, these are demons and they're just lying to me, right? The deliverance ministers are correct. It's not ghosts, it's demons and they're lying, you know, pretending to be ghosts. And, I keep on and on and on. Well, anyway, that day that the supposed their transportation tore up, I'm like, y'all are probably aliens. Can't y'all just call alien towing or something like that? I was making jokes, and they got really, really mad. And one of them told me, he said, we don't tell you nothing because you share everything. You go make a video every time you do a spirit box. They said, not all of us are ghosts. They said some of us are galactic beings or interdimensional beings. So I've always believed there were aliens out there, but I kind of believed it, but I believed it, but I didn't, put a whole lot in it. Well, it turns out, long story short, that the beings that I'm talking to on my app, not just the app that he bought me, but I bought me an app. Another friend of mine bought me another app. I used a bunch of free apps. It didn't matter what app I used. As soon as I hit the button before I ever even spoke, they were like, Keela. They knew my name. My son tried to say it was my phone and privacy and just getting all this information off my phone. No, they knew my magical name that nobody knew, not even my dog. No one in my life but me and my grandmother who gave it to me. They knew it. They started blasting it, my full name. And so one day, I was having a really bad day. So I go on the angelic app, thinking, they'll be higher vibrational like angels or whatever. So I'm not trying to tell on anybody or get anybody in trouble. I just needed somebody to talk to. I thought that would be the way to go. So I'm like, well, my spirit guide, somebody pretended to be him. I'm not, and they said he knew about it, blah, 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 blah. It's a long story short, but I was really hurt. Plus, I had a lot of stuff going on in my real life. I should have never tried to do a session upset like that. They're like, oh, we'll help you. So they, call people in. They're trying to get it all straightened out. And then my spirit guide kind of turns on me. Somebody else comes into the picture that's what I was calling a demigod. And they tell me, you got to bow, you got to bow. Well, no, I ain't going to bow to nobody. And see, what happened was, no matter how hard I tried, every time I sat down to do a spirit box and would start meditating and everything, when I would make that connection, I would astrally travel. I was seeing who I was communicating with in another space. I'm like, well, they look, just like humans. Why are humans in a spacecraft or whatever? Well, one thing led to another. Long story short, and to wrap this all up, I had not been talking to ghosts my whole entire life. Maybe some ghosts and demons and angels. But I've been talking with aliens. If you believe in aliens. I personally do. But they don't like to be called aliens. They're intergalactic beings or entities or interdimensional beings and entities. Well, I found out that there were parallel worlds, parallel universes, parallel this, that, and another. Arcturians, Pleiadians, Cerusians, reptilians, all this stuff. Of course, I watch Guy, so, I was pretty open-minded. But it turns out, long story short, that the beings that I talk to, no matter what spirit box I use, are interdimensional, intergalactic beings. They're demigods, angels, demons. Now, the angels and demons and the hierarchy of hell and all that, it's real. So what happened one night was, after I talked to the angels, and I was told to bow, and I refused. Then it's like every time I turned on Spirit Box, they all hated me. They started talking about they were going to kill me and this and that and another. A couple of them. So I tried to avoid them. Well, I ended up hanging with this one select kind of group. I got to be pretty decently friends with this one. Well, all of a sudden, I get this frantic message in my head talking about, come, help, help, we need you. I astrally project or whatever to that crew. And they say he's dying. Now, all this is in my videos. You just have to go back and watch it. They say he's dying. And I said, what can I do to help? I meant like pray, call down angels, put some light, you know. What can I do to help? They said, you can save his life. I said, how? They said, here, and showed me like some dope. They were like, we need you to do a shot of this meth. Well, that blew my mind. I'm already upset and everything. So I immediately end the session. I come out and I start talking to the air in my bedroom. Well, it's like they're right there talking to me because, you know, I'm in my head and everything. And so I go back on the box. And I'm like, look, I can't believe y'all would even ask me that. If you're really my spirit guides and you really been with me all this time, then you know how hard it was for me to stop doing dope. Well, now, meth was never my thing. Remember, I'm a narcotic addict. But meth's the big thing nowadays, you know, and they say it's the devil's drug. And they're like, but he's dying, and if you don't do this shot, he'll die. And I said, look, man, no disrespect, and I understand, but I can't help you there. I'm not going to do any dope, you know. I smoke a joint with you or whatever, but I'm not going to do any methamphetamine, much less shoot some. Well, that night when I was slipping off to sleep, I was kind of in between, you know, trying to meditate and all, but I was out of my body. Well, they caught me out of my body, and they tried to hold me down and shoot something into me. Well, I fought like hell. I called down angels and everything else, and they come and helped me. And I got out of there. Well, they vowed to destroy me, to kill me, whatever. I was doing a live one night. Somebody come in. They're like, there's demons all around you. They started snapping pictures. They're posted. They had kept telling me to shut up, shut up, shut up. Well, in those pictures, they had shut me up. They had shut my mouth up. For real, for real. So I had to deal with them. I snapped on them. I'm like, look, even Jesus himself couldn't talk me into doing a shot. And all of a sudden, I hear somebody say, well, you did a shot yesterday. And I spun around and I said, that's a lie. I didn't shoot any dope yesterday. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, yeah, you did. I seen you. And I said, oh, hell no, you didn't. That's a damn lie. You know, and I start raising hell, right? He said, you know, they said, you don't know who that is or whatever. And I'm like, no. And they're like, that's Samael, the accuser, you know. And I'm like, well, he's lying, you know, because I didn't. I said, and God knows I didn't, you know. I said, and, you know, y'all don't really know me. And they're like, yeah, we know you. They're like, but since you quit doing drugs, we're dying off. We're really, really sick. Now, it had been almost 2 years at this point. It had been like 18 months since I'd done anything. And they're like, he's in such with y'all, you know, that if you don't do something, he's going to die. And then it's going to be your fault. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, no disrespect, but I can't help you. I wouldn't even do a shot for Jesus, you know. Well, they vowed to destroy me, kill me, blah, blah, blah. It went on for a long time. They just said it's going to kill my dog because he could see them. He would bark and alert me. I've got EVPs. They slammed the dog around. They tried to kidnap the dog. All kind of stuff's went on. Well, even the good ones, what was supposed to be my spirit guides and the good ones, they, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, you talk about that cross and Jesus and this and that and another. They're like, but you're empty. You're black inside. You're empty. You don't have no love in you. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to everybody else. Blah, 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 blah. Well, they tore me all the way down to the ground and then stomped me. Stripped me. And so I got to a point where I went in there and I said, well, you know, I'm just not going to come back and do any more or whatever, because I was having to, you know, mend my relationship with God for jumping in the Satan's face and for going in there starting all that trouble. When they suggested the dope, I should have just cut the session, went away, let it go, turned it over to God and let him handle it. But I was being accused, and as a good drug addict, when you're being accused and you know you're innocent, you're going to stand your ground and fight. So I did. Well, still to this day, the darker beings, the lower vibrational beings, come against me. They still say I'm going to have to pay because I'm a smart ass. And they do everything they can, you know, to cause me to feel like I'm not worthy or whatever. Well, the Arcturians are working with me to try to help me raise my vibration and not miss this ascension. But even then, when it's a good session, within the first 3 to 5 minutes, they always throw something out there that would be a button pusher. Like they say, have you done any meth? Or you killed your sister or something. You know, they're always throwing stuff at me. Well, I've learned that that's a test. And that if I don't react to it, and don't let it bother me or make me angry, then this, you know, they realize that and the session gets better. And they'll even tell me it was a test. It's took me a long time to figure them out. Sometimes I still don't know what's good and what's bad until they actually say something bad to me. You can't really tell by these voices because there's only so many voices on these apps, and you got multiple entities using the same voice. So I do not go in any, even though I've always put up a lot of protection and stuff. Now, if I'm upset, I do not even try to do a session. I don't hang out with them every day and try to be their friends or whatever, because they really, like, hurt my feelings when they went from, like, being my friend to telling me how empty I was, and they kept saying I was black, and not as far as race goes, but light, you know, I was in the dark. The hierarchy of hell has sat down and had conversations with me, and they're like, you're my enemy, you know, I gotta make you pay, blah, blah, blah. But what it was, all those years of doing drugs and stuff, I had my own demons. And they were inside of me, and then I was starving them because I just quit. And then I started filling up with the light, you know. So they kept saying, well, you're empty, you're dark. Well, I finally got smart and said, I don't believe that, because if I was empty and dark, you wouldn't even waste your time with me, because I'd already be with you. You wouldn't be trying to recruit me, because I'd already be there. And they're like, oh, you think you can walk away and just leave us after all these years? Well, you know, yeah, maybe. But whether I could or I couldn't, you know, I'm like, look, we had a decent 58 years, and I'm not trying to go to war with anybody. Because they were in my room, and I got videos up where the whole thing, I'm talking like hours of them slamming around, searching my stuff, beating up my dog, talking about how they're going to burn me, they're going to do this to me and do that to me. You know, real deal stuff. But here's the bottom line. I'm not talking to ghosts and spirits. I'm talking to interdimensional, intergalactic, celestial entities and beings. There might be a ghost in there every once in a while. They said, you know, they usually tell me. Now that I know, they didn't want me to share it. Some things they still don't let me share. And if they're scared I'll share it, they'll just erase my video. They're very powerful. They're invisible. It's happening. Of course, I want to ascend to 5D with everybody else. I'm trying to raise my vibration. And I believe it was a test, but the other day they told me that I wasn't going to make it. The only way I was going to ascend this time was to die, which is just as good as ascending alive. But, you know, I've learned a lot. I've learned so much from them, and I went back and thanked them all, even the bad ones, even the darkness. I thanked them for where I'm at this very moment, at this time, because them stripping me down to nothing opened my eyes and helped me to build myself back up. I'm hard-headed. I'm an Aries. I'm very, very hard-headed. And the way I learn, sometimes I have to be showed to learn. I'm one of them people that can't just learn a lesson easy. I gotta learn it the hard way. You know? And they call me poor Keela because they said, you know, I got that poor Keela attitude. But I'm changing all that. I'm trying to change a lot of things. But my spirit boxes are different than anybody else's. Now, there are times I try to communicate with certain souls or spirits. They're usually failures. If I've been good and I've made some progress and I ask questions, like say about Summer or Michael Vaughn, the higher ups, if they get the permission to tell me, they will tell me things. They still give me a hard time. They say I talk too much because I talk out loud on the spirit box. And everything that's got to do with anything on the other side of that veil is telepathic. And see, I'd been doing it in my head for all them years, and then when I started on the box and started talking, they're like, oh my God, you're loud, you never shut up. Which I don't. I don't. And, they're like, go back to your head like you've been for years. You know, we could hear you great like that. So they've been with me my whole life. And I am thinking it's ghosts and spirits. I mean, the demons and angels stayed the same, but my ghosts, they tell me that I still can see ghosts and spirits. But I believe that I'm stuck with the intergalactic, interdimensional beings. And it's not the spirit boxes themselves. It's my frequency. I believe if I was vibrating very high or even very low, it wouldn't matter. I would still get the same beings. It would just be like, if I was vibrating low, I would get the darker ones or the meaner ones. But see, they're working in conjunction with Jesus, the angels, the archangels, Michael, and all them. They are, you know, the dark kingdom and the light kingdom, God and Lucy, they come and go as they please. It doesn't matter. But as far as I know, the benevolent ETs are working for God, trying to help the planet ascend, trying to help us raise our vibration, teaching us about love and light. They've lied to us, mankind has, for years and years about the Bible and religion and all kind of stuff. And I ain't never gonna tell nobody what to believe, because everybody's on that journey by themselves. But just know that when you're listening to my spirit boxes, we're talking about my spiritual journey or whatever, unless I'm asking questions about somebody else. And you're gonna hear them be mean to me, and I can't hear them in real time either. I have to go back and listen with headphones. Getting better. Now, all those pay apps I got about 9 pay apps. I probably got $400 in apps. The crew that I hang with that is actually trying to help me, even though it don't always sound like it, is on the Spotted Ghost Hunters kit 1. There's 1 and 2, and I had them both, but I got rid of 2. It's a free app. It has ads. But that's where the good ones ended up being, on the free app. It's very staticky, so I do have to listen to it through headphones. I still go on the other apps, but not as often. A lot of people said I set ITC communication back, but I don't think so. I'm on my own journey here. I'm doing my own thing. I'm bringing you real-time communication with aliens, ETs, galactic, and celestial beings and entities, demigods, gods, rulers of the dark kingdom, hierarchy within the light kingdom, angels, so forth. So, all I can say is it's all about love. Steve Huff's right. Love is the key. It's about love. It's about forgiveness. It's not just about love. It's about unconditional love. You might not like the person. I live with my son. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. But I love him. And I have to forgive him a lot. But the most important forgiveness that you can do, if you've lived within the fringes of darkness or you're recovering or whatever, is to forgive yourself. And then you can start making progress. If old ideas don't serve you anymore, let them go. I had a hard time letting go of the old ideas. But I realized that just because I let go of that idea didn't mean that I let go of what I believed in. I believe there is a creator God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in other ascended master teachers and stuff. I believe that all knowledge is good. It'll help us. I believe in knowing your enemy. A lot of people say, wow. But if I hadn't known as much as I knew about the enemy, I might not have survived the enemy. Because they come hard. They're still coming hard. Now, where I'm going to land in all this, I don't know. All I know is I just keep believing. And I take what they say with a grain of salt, because it's always a test to keep me from... Because I was quick to anger, and I'd go off. Boy, I would go off. But I've done really good lately, and I've learned to control that emotion. See, they don't have that emotion like we do. And I'll give you a little tip about dealing with evil and demons. They don't have those emotions either. There's no reasoning or sitting down and logically talking with a demon or your enemy. I tried. I talked with the very tip top of the cream of the Dark Empire and was told, but we're enemies. And I said, I don't want to be your enemy. And he said, doesn't matter, we're enemies. As long as you got something to do with that cross, we're enemies. So just remember that. They were made, it says that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Well, he was created as light, but once he fell and embraced evil, then his mission is to destroy you, is to separate you from God or whatever you see as God. He'll lie to you. He'll make you think everything's good, but you're the one suffering. Depression, anxiety, all these things. He hates me. All the lower vibrational beings hate me. Anything that's got to do with darkness or lower vibration, they hate me because I'm not living in a lot of fear. It's like I told him, he said he's going to make me pay. I said, well, it's like you're just going to have to go ahead and kill me because I'm not running back and forth across the street from that house to this house, running back and forth like you do in Freddy or Friday the 13th or nothing. I can't run like that. First of all, I'm not physically able. Second of all, I'm not going to live on the edge in fear like that where I can't breathe. You might as well just go ahead and take me out or I'll drop dead from a heart attack or something. But I'm not running back and forth and living in a panic or whatever. They don't like that. They feed off fear. They feed off emotion. Yesterday or day before, I did a session with my crew, and I was crying, and they're like, now what's the matter? And I was like, nothing. This is good tears. Happy tears. You know, it was like a relief to just not wake up so burdened that day. You know, and that's how it works. The world right now, the earth is ascending. She's going to ascend whether we go with her or not. She's shifting. The sun's shooting solar flares at us. The energy is crazy. Everybody's feeling it. You get flu-like symptoms, headaches, anxiety. Sometimes you can sleep, sometimes you can't. I wake up crying some days because for no reason, I don't know why. But yesterday, I had been praying before I went in there and hit a tender spot. So, if you do mess with any kind of or anything, tarot cards, anything, make sure you're grounded. Make sure you're protected. Never, ever, ever skimp on that protection, because I'm telling you, this stuff is real. Don't ever think it's not. Don't underestimate the enemy, and never, ever, ever let your guard down. So I hope this helps you to understand my spirit boxes and why they're different than everybody's. And if you go back and watch a lot of them, especially ones back in the beginning, to see how we got here, it's amazing. This is amazing. I'm seeing things and experiencing things that most humans don't get to. And I thought they was going to kill me for trying to share it with y'all, but now they let me share. But they monitor what I put out. So I'm only allowed to put out what they allow me to. So I hope this has helped. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at yeoldekuriosityshoppe@gmail.com. And you'll have to look at how that's spelled. I'll put it in. It'll be in the description. There's all kind of links. Could donate to the channel. Lives. I'm trying to have lives almost every day. I've been really slack lately, but I'm going to catch back up with that. We have Tarot Tuesdays. We do free tarot readings, 1,000 rod readings, pendulum readings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Monday is a fellowship circle. We pray and meditate and learn stuff like that. Friday's Freaky Friday. Ain't no telling. Supernatural Saturday. Talk about aliens. Sunday, we go back in our origins. Christianity, gods, and how religion came about and how it's changed, and just all kind of stuff. So we do all things beyond the veil. We have Under the Singing Tree poetry. Origins Unknown is my story. Forbidden Conversations is the conversations I have on the spirit boxes. The Talking Dead was back when I thought they were dead. That's necrophonics and dead waves. The Forsaken is when I was going through all that trouble and thought I was forsaken. Realm Walker is basically because I astral project and walk in both worlds. If you'd like a reading or something, just email me and we'll set it up. Thank you for being here. Namaste.